Let's get started with today's webinar. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's webinar is all about how we can help you harness the power of digital content and unlock the potential with digital repositories. Now, this applies to your library, archive, research team, information or knowledge centre. So today we will define digital collections, see the 4 benefits of what a digital repository could bring to you, highlight some of the essential features of a robust digital collection management system, and introduce Liberty Digital. Awesome. All right, shall we move on? Let's move on and define digital collections. So let's step back from digital repositories and actually have a look at what are digital collections. But before we get started, a warning. Today we are going to nerd out on digital collections and digital repositories, or digital content, I should say, and collections. Now, for those of you who've joined a webinar with us before, you know that we usually at some point jump in and we have a look at Liberty, our wonderful ILS. Well, today is a little bit different. We won't be looking at Liberty today like we usually do. We've got lots of lovely examples which are not Liberty, but they do help us understand and set the scene for the concept of digital collections, because we've been working on something that we want to share with you today. So now that I've got my warning out of the way, let's move on. So let's look at some of the types of digital collections. Digital collections generally, well, I found about 4 you could broadly categorise them. They include digital archives and libraries, digital publications, text corpus or text corpora, and digital repositories. You'll see as we go along, I've included some great examples which show these types of digital collections. And they're not Liberty, but we'll come back to that later, I promise. Let's look at digital archives first. Now, digital archives contain objects for preservation, storage, and or access. Now, these may include objects that are born digital or digitised. And examples include government bodies, courts, and other businesses. One that I thought really showcased a lovely example of digital archive is the Smithsonian Institution archives. So today I've picked some examples that are easily accessible. So you'll be able to head off and have a look at them yourself after this webinar and do a little bit of exploring. And we think they show off some of the key features of a digital collection. So let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. So here is the Smithsonian Institution archives, and I love it that they've got their statement of purpose on the website. Here they've got a collection of their digital content. So let's check one out that I think nicely showcases it. And you can see that it's a combination of links and images that have been embedded. There's a great little navigation menu at the bottom of the screen there, making it easy to hop around and find out more about the story. The embedded images come with a viewer that you can look at full screen, which is quite nice. And you can also zoom in or zoom out. So let's go back, have a look at that full record. So if we want to know what catalogue information is captured as part of this object, we can go ahead and have a look at that. And you can see it's a lovely catalogue entry. You can also have a look if any usage condition applies. So a great way to share permissions or restrictions that might apply. And then let's head back now and have a little look around, scroll through, we can see, read the story. Here's a nice little embedded viewer, letting us skim through a digitised letter that was written ye olde times. Nice little navigation button at the bottom, letting us go on to the next part of the story. And again, plenty of links, lots of embedded images, really bringing that story to life. Easily navigate back to the beginning there. And there we have it. Nice little way to showcase objects that were either digitized or born digital. So you guys can jump on and have a further look around there. I think it's a great example. Let's now have a look at digital libraries. So digital libraries consist of a collection of digital objects that can be searched or accessed through an interface. So the thing I found interesting about this was they could also be a digital collection or database which just provides the records of digital and material resources too. So they could cover academic, national, or public libraries that want a digital face to their records or to their collections. And they could also be research institutions. I found a great example here from the Digital Public Library of America, and I think they have really captured that essence. You can see they have over 48 million records, which are images, texts, videos, and sounds from across the US. Let's go and have a look, hey? So here we are on the homepage, and you notice as I scroll down, they've got some exhibitions showcased quite nicely, and then something else they wanted to promote. A nice little access area here about how to use the system. Let's go have a look at their exhibitions. So these exhibitions showcase stories of national significance within the US, and they're about all sorts of interesting things. And I thought, I'm doing this webinar, let me pick something a bit quirky, quack cures. So check this out. Here we've got the exhibition. I can cite it if I need to. I've got a navigation panel on the side, but I can also just explore the exhibition. I can read some interesting content about this particular concept or topic or subject, and I can click through and look at it in further detail. Again, nice little embedded viewer that lets me go ahead and find out more about a particular part of this exhibition. And as you can see, lots of links in the catalogue record there, letting me go further into that particular object. Again, it gives me the option to go full screen if I want to, and easily navigating through a particular story that's just laid out as part of an exhibition that you might visit physically. I really like this example because I thought it was a good way to show how you can tell a story digitally. Here we've got a newspaper clipping that's been digitised, and again, able to access that as a full view and zoom in on that content and have a read of it. So let's head back now. And once you're done, you can close the exhibition and head back to the home page there. So I thought this was a really nice example of how you can have a digital front to what is probably a physical structure in an organisation or a building, and a fantastic way to showcase the content you might have. It might be rare or fragile, and you might not want people necessarily getting their mitts on it. So a lovely way to share that with people. So digital publications, probably something that we're all very familiar with, publishing content in digital formats, accessed on a desktop and smart devices. And so that includes things like ebooks, digital journals, magazines. Interestingly though, for research organisations, digital academic and research papers, and digital comics and graphic novels. So pretty much, I mean, these days, anything you can source as a print publication probably has a sister digital version. Let's now have a look at something that I found really interesting when I was looking into digital collections, and that is text corpora. So text corpus, or the plural, text corpora, are large sets of digital texts which are guided by a focus, source, or purpose. And they're used for study, analysis, or research. Goodness me. They're usually electronically stored and processed, and they're used in linguistics and natural language processing. A text corpus, or as I said, the corpora for plural, which I hope I'm saying that right, it's a data set consisting of natively digital or older digitized language resources, and they can be either annotated or unannotated. They're used for historical research and analysis, statistical hypothesis testing, checking occurrences, or validating linguistic rules. And I just found all of this quite interesting. Lucky I had that nerd alert earlier today. Interestingly, you can also use these data sets for the production of taxonomies, which to me sounds like a dream because taxonomies can be tricky at the best of times. So, as I said, it's a large structured set of texts used for analysis, and it might come from a database like this. So once that data set is ingested by large, powerful supercomputers, the analysis and output might look something like this network graph. So you can see on this network graph, we've highlighted instances or occurrences of note that are somehow statistically significant. You could also use them to create something like this tree map. So helping you really bring a focus in on a particular topic or instance of word use. But what does this all mean, and how would you use it in your organisation? Well, good news for you today. I have what I think is a great example. Here is an amazing woman, Harriet Tubman. Now, you're probably thinking, what has she got to do with text corpus or text corpora? Well, researchers used high-performance computers to initially analyse 20,000 documents from two databases, text corporas, or text corpora, pluralising the plural, that were known to contain information about Black women. Now, the purpose was to find and understand the historical experiences of Black women by searching two massive databases of written works from the 18th through to the 20th century. And their stories were not explicitly recorded. They were peppered throughout these written works. There was an analysis of keywords and topics, which was used to create a computational model on a corpus of the documents, the initial 20,000, which they then used to study the entire 800,000 documents that were in those databases. To make sense of this huge data set, investigators and research then used computers to turn the words and into numbers and graphics. And I just thought this was a wonderful example of the power of data, digital data, that can be analysed en masse. So by doing this, we can discover new stories about our past from people who may have been otherwise overlooked. And I just thought, what a great example for something that sounded quite heavy, but here's the outcome. So then that brings us to digital repositories, which are a type of digital collection. So they provide many functions, and as you can see, I've got a bit of a summary there on the screen of what they do. They're usually accessible via the internet, sometimes called a digital library, an online library, or an internet library, or a digital collection, just to confuse the issue. But generally, there are two types of digital repositories. The first is an open access repository. So that offers increased visibility and accessibility for research, support collaboration, and knowledge sharing. But they do have a downside. They can have restrictions on their reuse, and they might face some challenges in maintaining quality control. Now, I did say there were two, and the second type is an institutional repository. Now, they provide visibility for an institution's research. They preserve and provide access to those research outputs. but they too can have some downsides. They have limited access, obviously, because there might be some sensitive or confidential information in there. They can also suffer from duplication or a fragmentation of that content. They can be limited in their scope with a focus only perhaps on one area, and they do require ongoing maintenance and governance. Now, I did mention today I've got lots of great examples, and I thought the other two were pretty good. Here's another one I think is going to really showcase the idea of a digital repository. Now, it contains a comprehensive digital collection. So unlike the others, which perhaps more focus on digitizing content or reflecting content that is born digital, a repository really brings together resources that are stored in various formats, including images, text, videos, music, maps, and more, covering a broad range of subjects or topics, such as literature, law, history, education, the arts, humanities, medicine, sciences. You get the idea. You'll find digital repositories attached to many organisations, such as government, cultural heritage institutions, research data organisations, open access repositories, and data centres. So as I mentioned, I've got a great example from the National Library of Scotland. So let's have a little look. You can see on the side all the different types of resources that are available to me. And the first one we're going to have a look at is the digital gallery. So let's head over and have a look. And you can see these are digitized documents from their collection, broken up into categories. And let's just pick the first one here and have a look at the collection of Robert Burns, the poet. And you can see I've gone into their catalogue now, and I'm actually looking at a digitized book, which I've got access to in this awesome viewer. I can go ahead and see the entire book. We're not going to do that today, but I just think this is amazing. As I said before, if you've got something that's rare or fragile, what a great way to preserve it. Easy access to the catalogue record, as you can see. And I'm able to access that as though I was holding it in my hands and looking at it. Let's head back now and we'll look at another part of their digital repository, and that is their e-resources. So the e-resources laid out a little bit differently. Got the popular categories up at the top there, and then some ones that are broken down in sections, as you can see. Family history is always something that gets people interested. And you can see this is actually, I thought it was interesting because it's a combination of access that is physically available, but also access that is digitally available. So here's some records on how I can research my family history and how I go about doing that. Quick look at the maps, I think. Let's have a look here. Again, laid out a little bit differently, but really user-friendly, easy to access and navigate. Let's have a look now at their moving image catalogue. So they've digitised a whole heap of moving images into an archive. And you can see I can play it quite easily from this viewer. And I've got access to that content there. I can go ahead and have a look at the full record. Again, lovely little catalogue record that gives me plenty of metadata that I can use to cross-reference to other parts of my catalogue. And then once I'm done there, I can head back home and check out what I found on their homepage, the Data Foundry, which is a text corpus. So here I can access their data collections if I'm looking to do more research. I was so excited when I found that because I'm like, oh my God, they exist. So that was pretty cool, I thought. So I thought the National Library of Scotland was a great example of a digital repository and how it can be just showcased for people to use quite easily. So now that we've had a look at some examples of digital collections and we've just spent some time looking at a digital repository, let's have a look at the 4 benefits that you could have from having one in your organisation. Like, why would you want one? Well, here are 4 reasons. a means for preserving and archiving your research outputs for the long term. Work remains accessible and available for future reference, even if the original publications become outdated or inaccessible. Convenient and centralised platforms manage and organise the research outputs. Instead of scattering your work across various platforms or relying on personal websites or a storage solution, a digital repository provides a structured, easily navigable space to showcase your papers, data sets, reports, and other research objects. It also saves time and effort in managing and organising it. Connecting and collaborating with researchers who have similar interests or are working on related topics. You can share your work or discover others' research. Engage in discussions and collaborate, fostering a sense of community, and most importantly, enabling a knowledge exchange. Some digital repositories provide usage statistics and metrics, allowing you to track the impact of your research and your research outputs. So this could include the number of downloads, views, citations, social media mentions. Now, these metrics can be really useful for things like tenure or promotion evaluations, grant applications, or demonstrating the broader impact of your work. So let's continue building on this idea of a digital repository. So now that we've got a better understanding of what it does and what some of the benefits would be, let's think about what are the features that you would want in one. Once you start looking around, there are quite a few features you'd want to make sure are included. We'd want you to see things like cloud hosting, regular updates, analytics capabilities, a strong security environment, management portal, and customization options in your digital repository. You'll also want to make sure that it works on any computer or smart device. And think about how many people can use it at once. Make sure it can store information and resources in different formats and that you can change how it looks. There is so much to think about. Digging deeper, again, let's look at some of the features that are going to be invaluable for your digital repository. Support for all standard metadata and custom metadata schemas. That'll make it easy to search and find relevant content. It'll make it efficient to organise and categorise this for your administrators or managers. You want to make sure that there is intuitive browsing, either by collection, custom date ranges, or other unique categories. You want to be able to provide different options to explore and find content. You want to be able to include powerful search tools, maybe even some using AI or artificial intelligence, enabling users to find exactly what they're looking for. This means that your users are going to spend less time searching and more time delighted at the results of their search. You want to make sure that there is flexible data handling to manage physical and digital assets, including PDFs, video, image, audio, and others. This will help cater to different research outputs and formats. Now, this is a screenshot from our ILS, Liberty, and it's our document import interface. A great digital repository will have an efficient batch uploader, handling both OCR, so optical character recognition, and HOCR, the HTML character recognition. As an aside, we've had AI helping collect metadata in Liberty since 2020, and it's a pretty cool feature. You're also going to want a batch editor for easier handling of those collections, meaning you can handle large volumes of content and making those batch edits to the metadata a lot easier saving you time that you're definitely going to need doing other things. You want your digital repository to be responsive. You want interactive multimedia viewers that work smoothly on all devices, including smart devices. There's some screenshots here of our mobile app, Liberty Link, which works with our iOS Liberty. This improves the user experience. A seamless and responsive interface from desktop to mobile means users can engage, use, and interact anywhere, anytime. Analytics, so important. Your digital repository needs to have some sort of analytics or metrics, dashboard or reporting function to help provide insights onto user engagement, the collection popularity, and also trends. This kind of analytics dashboard and reporting is available to our Liberty customers, and that's what you can see on the screen. It's really important to be able to assess and understand the impact and the usage of your digital repository, helping you make informed decisions about content curation and identifying areas for improvement or focus. And lastly, automation tools for things like metadata tagging, collection management, or other time-consuming tasks. Streamlining those time-consuming tasks for repository managers and administrators is a must, and it makes such a difference. So these are just some of the features that we think would be invaluable for your digital repository. Of course, there's going to be others depending on your needs, but this will definitely kick off and give you some food for thought. So let's switch gears now a little and talk about Liberty. But first, this year is our 40th birthday. Happy birthday to us. We're always innovative. SoftLink was one of the first to offer a web-based library catalogue, and we are so proud of our two flagship products, Liberty and Illumin. Now, many of our customers already offer digital collections as part of their catalogues, including many of the features that we just saw. And if you're a customer of SoftLink IC, you know that we're always looking to expand, grow, develop, and package our features into something more. So that's why today I want to talk to you about Liberty Digital. We want to take this idea of a digital repository further. We want to be able to incorporate new technologies such as AI where we can, and our customers know that we are always open to feedback. So with that, then I guess the question is, would you like to know more about Liberty Digital? So we've been working on a solution, we've been building a solution which we think would focus 100% on your digital collection needs. And we thought, well, let's just put it out there. We've got this great landing page. So the address is icdigital.softlinkint.com. But don't worry, I'll make it easy for you guys. I'm just going to go to the next slide where I've got a QR code and I've got the web address listed on the screen there. So if you are interested in finding out more about Liberty Digital, go ahead and scan that QR code and it will take you to that website you just saw. Pop your details in there and we can get in touch. So with the QR code and that web address, it brings us to the end of today's webinar. So as I mentioned, I'll leave the web address up on the screen there, but we have covered quite a lot today, haven't we? We have looked at digital collections and we've looked at the 4 benefits of a digital repository. We highlighted some of the essential features that a robust collection management system that is solely focused on digital should have. And we've introduced the idea of Liberty Digital. So remember, you can scan that QR code to find out more, or you can visit that address. Thank you very much for joining us today. And if we can help you at all, please remember to reach out and get in touch.